Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to part 2 of our WrestleMania roundup for the recent WrestleMania 35 card. I, as always, am Pete Titans Creed Nethercoat, joined as always by Mr. Kevin, the Kevin Eva, and one Mr. John Turbo Finley. How are you doing, lads?
Doing all right.
Doing all right, yeah. On to the main card now, of course.
We
So,
are on to the main card.
lots to discuss.
So, I mean, we had the opening of WrestleMania, as it was. Alexa Bliss comes out, greets everybody as the host of WrestleMania. Pretty cool. Summons Mr. Hogan to have her own WrestleMania moment. I'm not going to make notice of what was said on Twitter regarding that.
Oh, it was wonderful, though.
I like to think of myself
So
as
accurate.
semi-professional ideals. But yes, Hogan is obviously very much...
Back in bed with WWE.
No, that's not the word I was going to use. Controversial choice for an appearance at the moment, considering what has happened with him previously. However, there are certain individuals of the roster who have chosen to talk to him, hash it out, and them listening and everything else. That's basically between them. Whatever anybody may keep of their own thoughts.
Oh,
about Hulk
that's always
Hogan
been the case
is...
since back in November. So
No,
Yeah.
I mean there's certain members of the roster that have come out and said that they've had personal discussions like on that weekend.
Oh, right.
It was, yeah. Words were had.
Words were had.
Hogan went to them and to say sorry personally, and it wasn't forgiven, but a point was made, and the point was made forcefully as to why.
Yeah.
It was, why he should be sorry,
Yeah.
as opposed to,
But at the end of the day, it is not for us to judge. We are more than able to have our own thoughts and feelings about the individual. But at the end of the day, we do not work with him, and therefore there are other people who should have their own thoughts and feelings that matter more.
Especially when we can rip the piss out of him for effing up the goddamn location of Mania again.
So I made a joke in the last minute continue Discord, because we have a wrestling channel there where you can come and talk wrestling with us.
Yeah, come to the squared circle part of the LMC Discord.
Well, you can come and talk wrestling with us. And I made a joke that Hulk was he's gonna in before he messes up the name again, even though like the name of the actual place is literally opposite the main stage. And lo and behold, he made a pun on calling it the Silver Dome. And however,
he's like, everything.
Yeah.
Oh, he's making light of his own
called
mistake.
it
Fair enough.
called it the MetLife Center instead of the MetLife Stadium.
Still trying to make light of the situation, he still fucks it up.
Yeah.
So somewhere Matthew couldn't believe his luck.
Yeah, I know.
Actually, Matthew's going to be busy.
Oh yeah.
But
Considering all the audio and all the other mess. Oh boy.
Oh.
But yes, they did well. They hyped him up. Everybody loves to see Hulk and everything else, regardless of what you think of him. The WrestleMania crowd popped for him and everything else. To be out-popped by Mr. Paul Heyman on a mission to the ring.
Yeah, walking to the ring to Real American still.
Yeah.
which I thought was fantastic.
I mean,
who's a real American? Paul Heyman's a real American. He wants money and he wants success. He is a real American. Everybody.
I mean, he is New York pure and bred, isn't he? So
yeah,
he is like the antithesis of being in a real American. So there we go.
Obviously all that stuff with Studio 54 and everything that he did.
Yeah, but he did what I thought was a pretty out of left field promo. Really, really good about how if they weren't going to be in the main event, they were going to go on first and they were going to get out of here and get on a jet. And I don't think anybody else really could believe the fact that the Universal Championship was going to be on first. But the story, really well told. I think they did that. That's exactly how Lesnar would feel if he's not on last. He's going on first and he's leaving. He's done.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
It made sense within the character of Brock Lesnar.
Mm-hmm.
It made sense within the ire of Paul Heyman and they plugged the whole fact that he was going to take his talent off to UFC or somewhere that's going to be appreciated
Yeah,
properly.
going to Las Vegas.
Yeah, and he dropped the other word ultimate as well.
Yeah,
very pointedly.
Yeah, not going to a casino.
Yeah. Oh, he might do. He might do just to suplex the entire casino, probably. But
yeah, no. Both men made their entrances.
I'm sorry. You've just reminded me of something that. Okay, so this is so story. If you watch the CM Punk DVD, there's a moment where I think he was in like Ring of Honor or somewhere, and they were doing like Falls Count Anywhere or what have you. It was in a relatively seedy casino thing, and there was like strippers there, and there's one of the ladies is doing her business, doing stuff, and she's on the floor, she's on the pole, blah, blah, blah. And Punk just leans down and just screams at her, "You are a whore!" right in her face. Oh, because he was such a heel. Oh, sorry. You just reminded me of that because of the casino. Sorry, carry on.
Fair enough.
It was
Sorry about that.
Horrendous, but also
What a tangent.
extremely funny because of the way it was said.
So yeah, both men had their entrances. Once again, really, really shoddy, bloody 3D graphics of a Beast Slayer. Ooh, Beast Slayer.
Beast Slayer sounds like a 1990s sci-fi film.
No, I thought it was a PS2 era video game.
Oh God, yeah.
Like,
have you tried Beast Slayer?
But yeah, essentially they went straight out the gate with it. Lesnar just dominated with German suplexes. Just I believe an F5 to the outside as well.
No, I don't think he
an F5 on the outside.
Did he land an F5?
I can't even remember. It was a bit of a blur.
Yeah, because
all
I remember was Lesnar beating up on Rollins before the match actually officially started.
I think he Germaned him outside the ring.
Yeah, but I don't think he landed an F5 at all. Because if he
Although
did,
it wouldn't
that would
surprise
have
me
been
if he did, frankly.
But there was the whole thing. Rollins counted an F5 in the ring, and pushed Lesnar into the ref. So it wasn't a proper ref bump, but the ref was out of the ring long enough for Lesnar to score the lowest of blows. And then
wait, Lesnar getting a low blow?
Yeah, Seth got the low blow on Lesnar because as we're continuing this thing that the weakest part of Brock Lesnar is his testicles. This is a thing that seems to be canon within WWE story.
He's not the only one.
In a world where Lesnar is like 99% beef, I would consider that the 1% fat would probably be the weakest part. Yes. Yeah,
it affects him for longer in terms of his, I dare I say, performance. It affects him longer in terms of the time frame of the match, in terms of selling and what have you. The nut shot that does for us. But we had this when Taker faced him. We had this with a couple other people. Faced him, pretty certain Trips low blowed him as well. Brian did. Punk probably did in his match as well, knowing him. It just the way you get an advantage over Brock Lesnar is to punch him in the penis, and that'll bring you success for about 5 minutes.
Well, that 5 minutes was long enough to get 3 stomps in on Lesnar's cranium and pin the guy.
Mm-hmm.
So,
which I was surprised by.
3 stomps and a low blow equal however many spears and punches to the face that Reigns managed to do. So, but yeah, walking away making Seth Rollins your new Universal Championship, and we did not see Brock Lesnar or Paul Heyman on the Raw after WrestleMania.
No.
Yeah.
Yes,
they were true to their words.
The man of 100 million nicknames is now your Universal Champion, everybody. But hey, we've got in good news, we got the Universal Championship back.
We did, and
It's like a thing again.
And in even better news, I was the only one that called this prediction correctly.
That wasn't good news.
No, it wasn't.
But I think, in fairness, me and Turbo legitimately thought they're just going to stuff us again and they're going to
absolutely.
give Brock even more money.
I mean,
and just like this belt is a non-entity at this point.
At the end of the day, I believe I said the same as well when we actually did the predictions things. I fully expected Lesnar to retain, and it wasn't the thing with what I wanted. It wasn't the thing with what anybody wanted, but I fully expected it. But I went with Seth
because you changed your mind on another match later on. Because I'll tell you this much: we didn't all expect to have happy endings for all the
this is what made sense to us, and because we didn't in the WWE Championship, we were sort of very skeptical about, and because one of the reasons we thought that was they're gonna have to give Becky her moment, if not being funny, but if the guys lose, it actually makes her look even better.
Yeah.
If she wins, if she's actually able to capture the championship and the male challengers lose, so
we'll go into more as we get to them. But I'm glad that the Universal Championship is off of Lesnar, and then now Raw will be able to have a champion.
Raw will finally have a heavyweight championship for people to chase.
Here's an idea: give Lesnar the US title belt. I'm serious. Give Lesnar the US title.
Fair enough.
Make the US title super rare as the Universal title was.
And mean just as little.
It'll mean something absolutely mega.
Well,
I don't care about the rest of the world or something like that.
I'd rather have someone who defends it in the way that Cena did without doing it in the way that Cena did. And he made it mean something then. But yes,
very true.
We will move swiftly on to AJ Styles versus Randy Orton. Kev, take us away on this one. Because I don't think you were a big fan of this match, were you?
I was going into this match not with the best of feelings as to what was going to happen, to be honest. I thought it was going to be... It was a good match that was going to lead nowhere afterwards. As we previously discussed, it was highly likely to just be one string of things leading into an RKO.
On a phenomenal forearm.
Or on a phenomenal forearm.
No, an RKO off the phenomenal forearm.
Yeah, it was... And when I was watching it, it was very pedestrian. It felt to me. It felt like it didn't mean anything. And that's not to go against the efforts of AJ, obviously, or Randy, to be honest. But it just didn't feel like it meant anything. And to be honest, I didn't think they had the best of chemistry either. It just felt like it didn't work.
I think a lot of that is due to just Orton just not caring, or at least coming across like he doesn't care. Like he'll do the job, but
that's just him waking up in the morning and the space of time between him doing that and then going to sleep. That's just him.
I actually did enjoy the match. It kept me thoroughly entertained. Like, it wasn't to the point that, I stopped watching the screen and started doing something else. I think a lot of that can be thanked on AJ for the most part. I think AJ probably led that match, and that was probably why it was entertaining to me.
Yeah. That superplex,
yes.
That superplex.
John, how do you feel about this match?
I thought it was all right. I mean, I liked how AJ was able to read Orton for some of the match. Like, for example, he was able to kind of like stop Orton from getting in with an RKO. It's like just making Randy stop, like land on his back after faking him out to get him with the phenomenal forearm, and then get him with. I believe he followed that up with the. Uh, what was it? 430.
He did the 450.
450. Aye. So that worked.
And landed a little bit high. That wasn't very nice for Randy.
Yeah, I mean, it was there was slopping moments, but the thing that obviously was very most notable during this match was that of the crowd's ire showing because of WWE's ineptitude to program their lights correctly to not shine it right into the direct eye contact.
Now
of
you're
their
taking
audience.
on the ire of people who were actually there at the thing, and less how.
But that's what affected, because obviously if the crowd are chanting "turn the lights off" very audibly, I'm going to be distracted by that.
Yeah, if the crowd are out of the match,
that affects that affects the viewer.
It affects the atmosphere of the match.
Yeah,
it affects the performers in the match, and we
All
know Randy's not good with that.
All I could tell was that they were shouting something. I couldn't tell what it was, and therefore Orton did what Orton does best, and he played to it and just told them to do it. Orton made the best of that bad situation.
He tried, but it was you might have been able to look past it, but it was very audible for me.
It's probably because I'm not as smarky as you.
No, but it did. Even before we kind of knew what was being chanted, it felt wrong. And
yeah,
it's something you could tell.
It could. There was moments, but it just didn't have a good flow. That was the problem with this game, and I wasn't expecting
that may be it for you. I disagree. I enjoyed every minute of it.
We agreed to disagree then.
It's almost like we have a score system to reflect this.
Yes.
We do, amazingly enough. But yes, Orton managed to hit an RKO, finally, after many attempts. Styles kicked out at 2, which we don't really see anymore, which is a good WrestleMania thing on its own. And then Styles managed to hit a phenomenal forearm outside the ring, and then once more inside the ring for the win.
Mm-hmm.
The phenomenal forearm off the inside to the outside was pretty good as well.
And now he's hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
It's fine.
On the plus side, end of that storyline.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And
also gives time AJ some well-deserved rest, because I think he deserves it.
Absolutely. And on the even better side, I'm again the only one who called the prediction for this match correctly. I know in the notes it says that Kev picks Orton regretfully.
Yeah, it very specifically said
But still,
I didn't want it to happen, and I thought about changing it after the SmackDown.
Well, I was the same. I was kind of like thinking, I should have changed it as well, and shouldn't have said, because AJ won last year, he should lose this year. It only makes fitting. But nope.
But Orton had no business winning it. And because Orton had no business winning it, I was almost, through that alone, convinced WWE were going to make him win.
I solely made my thing on the fact that the spot that we called was going to be the WrestleMania spot happened on the SmackDown.
Yeah, because the fact that all three of us, identified that, and the turning point for our decision was that SmackDown as well, as to whether or not we'd sort of stick with our initial thing or twist. And yeah, Pete went and switcherooed, and it worked for him.
So, including the pre-show, we're now at 4-2-2. So already at this point, I mean,
we were fed up at this point, frankly.
Kev and I were watching from the glory of our own home, and so we had access to our PCs and Discord moment. And John was staying with a friend and watching it.
Yeah, and I was periodically, I had my phone.
Looking in, we were like doing a little sort of, running commentary on the Discord as we went.
Yeah.
I was busy like looking down the list of stuff I'd written down during the pre-show, and just going, well, we're not winning this.
Especially after the next match, the SmackDown Tag Team Champions of the Usos versus The Bar versus Rusev and Shinsuke Nakamura versus Aleister Black and Ricochet in a fatal 4-way tag team match.
I was very happy with the result of this.
I was very happy with the result. I was very happy with the match. There was a part of me at one point which questioned myself if it was an elimination tag team match.
Yes, it was. It felt like it should have been.
Yeah.
And wasn't. And then because we had the other tag team match later on, that felt like it should have been and wasn't.
I think that was mainly because you had Ricochet and Aleister Black, who already lost in the 2 nights prior to this in the NXT tag team match. So to not have any of them get pinned or submitted, you had to make this as a one fall match rather than elimination, because if you eliminated them during the match at any point, it would have been bad for them. So it was only evident that one of the other teams was going to take the fall. In this case, it was the Bar to the Usos, and the Usos would have to retain. Granted, the match itself was good because there was it got really heated to the end, where everyone was like hating their finisher and hating it really good.
One of the really big spots during the match was where Cesaro put the giant swing on Ricochet for a whole minute. He had Sheamus just keeping everybody out of the ring with the beats of the Bodhrán.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of bonkers.
It was mental. Yeah.
The fact that also, not being funny, he was able to basically he was able to stand still afterwards.
Well, he always takes a minute to compose himself, and he talks.
Yeah, but he just sort of went and just continued.
Yeah.
If anybody else was doing that, you'd be just like going place off for a little bit, but he just stopped on the dime. Boop, boop, boop,
I think he's done it so many times that his center of gravity is able to kind of like keep him, corrected.
But yeah, I mean, because 2 people got a real sort of showcase in that match. One of them was Cesaro with the swing, and a couple other things, like he hit a really vicious uppercut.
Oh yeah,
at one point.
They were jumping from the top rope or something.
Yeah, and he just walloped them with an uppercut, and it looked really. Yeah. And of course, the other one was Ricochet, who got the big spotlight as well with the counter out of the Tower of Doom.
Yes,
and some other things.
Yeah, it was a superplex attempt by the Bar, which turned into the whole 7-man weapon in the corner. Where Ricochet
and he was able to land on his feet, roll, and then get to the corner.
Yeah,
from that.
Very impressive on his own.
Yeah.
Lots of stuff going. In fact, in comparison, actually, to Aleister Black, I didn't think Aleister Black got really showcased that much at all.
No,
felt like
it was very tame from himself. I mean, he had. I think they did the springboard into the sitting position spot. I think at one point.
Yeah, he had a little flurry at one point.
Yeah,
but that was it.
And he was able to get a good black mass kick in there.
Oh yeah, the black one. Yeah, that always like it's death.
Yeah,
quite literally.
But, I would agree that he was playing second fiddle to Ricochet, who is just way more, high flyer and agile than Black is. Black is a brawler more so than.
I feel like the Usos are playing second fiddle to everybody. To you. Because it felt very much like that they were in it,
but not
and they won
not prominent until the end.
But
I don't think they needed to be fair. Like, I I think everybody is well aware of how everybody feels of the Usos in that position anyway, and it was more on everybody else to really deserves a strong word, and I probably shouldn't use it here, but show that they deserve the titles over the Usos. Now, the Bar do very, very well, but I feel that they lack stuff towards when they have their in-ring matches with the titles, and their mic work, as fun as it may be to listen to occasionally, is very repeatedly the same every time. Ricochet and Black, we don't really see on the mic at all. As a tag team, they're there. They do a lot of really good spots that we see all the time. So much so that it's very samey at this point. And we don't see them on the mic. So, and then Rusev and Shinsuke are just there. And, even the commentators made that they haven't really, they up their tag team skills with every time that they tag together. And they haven't got those points yet. So, but we know the Usos are there and they do their thing. And they're very good on the mic, and they do bring something different to it every time they do it, with the exception of the obvious catchphrase. But, yeah, I don't know. I feel like it was there. But yeah, after, in the end, the Usos deliver the double Superfly Splash on Sheamus to retain.
Yep.
I thought it was a very good match. Very good.
It was decent.
It was okay.
And what was more?
Oh, sorry. We totally missed out the team that, really didn't need to be there, which was Rusev and Shinsuke Nakamura. I'm so sorry for those guys.
They were the definition of creative as nothing for.
Yeah,
pretty much. But I'll tell you who creative does have nothing for, and it's you two, with your incorrect predictions once again for the third match running on this one. Mr. Kev did take Ricochet and Black. Obviously feeling like after 3 straight pay-per-views in tag team matches.
Yeah, I did not realise they were at Takeover. That would have actually changed my actual choice a bit. But I'm happy that Usos won. Happy that they were on the main card again. Remember, we were discussing last year about it was amazing that somehow the Usos hadn't been on the main card,
and they were able to get onto the main card twice.
And they've defended the titles again. Which was a really big thing that they made a huge deal out of last time. That they keep defending the titles at Mania. It's like a little specialty of theirs. Didn't last through SmackDown, but never mind. So guys, when the Superstar shake-up happens, we're actually going to do a little special, and we'll sort of go over everything that sort of happened from the Raw and SmackDown after Mania through to Superstar, and what we think is going to happen with the new / refreshed rosters. But we're going to do that obviously at a later date.
Yeah.
Watch this space.
We might get Mr. Greg back for that if we can. I think that'd be very, very beneficial.
Okay. Back on point. Mr. Johns did go for the Bar.
Yeah, I know. I thought they would get it, but no. Fuck you.
Oh, sorry. I'm enjoying this a little bit too much after last year.
Aren't you just?
He's going to get a toy belt in the post, I'll tell you that.
I was going to say, just get
a small one for that.
No. I'm going to get it. I'm going to hold it there.
Off the WWE champion.
Hold that one.
And just give him that.
No, I'll personalise it for you as well. I'll just engrave your name on the back of the little wrestler's belt.
May as well do, because I'm keeping it.
Scratch it in.
The next match. Miz versus McMahon in a Falls Count Anywhere match. We did say
bloody awesome.
Yeah, very good. We did say in our predictions that this was going to obviously leave the ring, mostly because it's just McMahon falling off something large, which did happen.
Indeed,
quite a few times actually.
Oh yeah, there was quite notable.
Absolutely.
Points.
It started off really strange. Shane dominated Miz in the early running, and which prompted Dad Miz.
Miz Dad.
Big Daddy Miz.
Mr. Mizzlemania.
Big Daddy Miz to get involved and threw quite a potato once him and Shane actually got it on. Actually, from judging by Shane's massive black eye.
Yeah,
I did not see that. Did he actually clock him one?
He's got a proper clocked. He's got a big shiner.
I was gonna say with a man with a stance like this, you know,
it's Duchess of Queensberry rules, isn't it?
No,
if
it was
taking lessons from William Regal,
like this.
Taking lessons from.
I mean, it was a nice story. It was a man who doesn't really fight or know how to fight, but he's gonna step in to defend his son.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And he got his ass handed to him, and he punched. He showed Shane what a punch looks like. Apparently, so
there was a lot that happened in this match. There was a lot of back and forth. Like even when Shane got the best of Mizdad, and then got the EMTs to go help him out and make sure he was fine, get him out of the way so he wasn't in harm's way or anything else. We had a couple of spots where it literally just went out of there. Miz was showing tenacity, anger, all that stuff. There was a lovely couple of spots pretty much after Shane dominated Miz at the beginning where it just ended up just being the Miz just in charge of the rest of this. They went all the way through stuff. One of the ones I preferably like is where Miz knocked Shane over a railing onto a golf cart and then onto the floor.
Yeah, that was really nice.
Well, it was nice, but brutal, and it would have been dangerous.
This was just shortly after, as Kev likes to put it, Miz made an international incident.
yeah. These are all the announced teams that you can listen to if you're in other countries. Well, Miz has just destroyed the entire section.
Sorry, you just got full on muted there, but
you got cut out a little bit. But yes, it made a full on international incident where he just can't see the commentary teams because they have no tables.
Yeah, I thought that the international commentary teams like the Mandarin and French and Japanese teams, they'll be fine. They're totally out of harm's way. Nope. Poor Funaki, like he was probably the most distraught during that whole thing.
He's like, no, my stuff.
No, let's get that. So crazy, but no, I was like, it was good. I think I don't know who was at the very end, but the table there obviously got the worst of it. That got. I think Shane went through one of those tables.
Yeah, because he sort of lifted up and just shoved him through a table more than anything.
Right, and then he made for the pin and whatnot, and then he threw him over the metal railing.
All through this section of the match, basically, Miz. There came a point where it's like he'd snapped, and then it was just like the brain is no longer functioning. This is pure malice.
It's all
crazy, and that was the story all the way through the rest of the match as well. It was like, okay, he's just coming up with really crazy shit that he can do to Shane, and he's going to do it because he can, and no one's going to stop him.
No, because them's the rules. There are no rules.
Yeah. I like the idea of the superplex at the end, with Shane pinning.
It would have been great if it was a skull crushing finale from that. And it's like, even though we knew fine that whatever that they were gonna land on was gonna be a soft landing and such. But
it's a lot easier to take to the back than it is the face. It's best to protect themselves. But the finish ends where I'm quite sure I recall a finish from like that from a previous Shane
it's
match.
Shane.
It wasn't a suplex, but what happened in previous Shane hardcore matches where Shane would have someone at the bottom, or they both climb to the top of a 20-foot scrape, kind of like scaffolding of some form. Most notable spots for me was like SummerSlam 2001, I think it was. Backlash.
He did He did about
to-
Backlash. Yeah.
Yeah, back. It was either Backlash 2000 or Backlash.
It was back in the
2012.
day when they had that interchangeable, wonderful interchangeable.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm talking about here though is the one where Shane's landed the attack and he's been on him. Stuff like Backlash was a last man standing where he did the elbow drop on the show and then was hoisted by Test onto the arm camera. I'm talking about one where he's landed and been in that pinfall position. I'm sure I remember it from something.
I think that might have been SummerSlam. No, actually, no, that wasn't SummerSlam because that was Blackman beating him.
But yeah, I mean,
that's
pretty much it. The referee counted the pinfall. We all correctly guessed that Shane was going to win this. We did this off the back that, the Miz was too strong in his SmackDown matches leading up to this. Shane was due a win at WrestleMania, etc., etc. Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, Miz got to do some extreme stuff, which
we don't really see a lot because he's very
there was the point of the character that he doesn't do that, and that's the lengths he would go to. And as you said, Pete, doing the suplex off of that, and it's taking the Miz choosing to take himself out along with just to punish Shane. That is different.
I imagine that the way that this storyline is going to go is that they'll have a match at Ladder in the Bank, and it will be for the Best of the World trophy. And
Ladder at the Bank.
Ladder in the Bank.
Ladder in the Bank. There was
Ladder in the Bank. It's a very expensive ladder, ladies and gentlemen.
Exactly.
It's gold.
Gold plated.
Yeah. Oh no, it's not Big Show's one, is it?
Moving on to a match I don't think any of us were really overwhelmed with. The Women's Tag Team Championship match, the Boss and Hug Connection of Bayley and Sasha Banks versus the Samoan Slaughterhouse of Nia Jax and Tamina, the Iconics of Billy Ray and Peyton Royce, and Beth Phoenix and Natalya, with Beth Phoenix in a very Heart Foundation looking gear.
Yeah, that was the nod, wasn't it?
Nod, yes.
Yeah. I mean, it was even more evident when Bret Hart came out to kind of give his support for them as they made their way to the ring, and he just went back to the back on that.
Yeah, it's the little nod with the Heart Foundation going in the Hall of Fame. So.
Yeah,
really nice, and they got to do Heart Attack during the match, of course. So that was really good.
But overall, the match itself was just not that great. It was like
I think it's very hard when this is annoying because I like Nia Jax as a person.
Yes, I'm the same.
I just don't think she's doing very well.
Yeah, for some reason,
I think the big person stick very well.
No, I think there's just something wrong. I think maybe the business is getting to her. I think.
I don't think it's that. I think she's been billed and used incorrectly. I said it way back when, where they introduced her and they did Braun Strowman's reintroduction after the Superstar shake-up when it happened, and they split him up from the Wyatt faction. That they tried to do both the big guy thing with both of them at the same time and put them in squash matches, and then. I think if it had happened a year later when there was no other thing happening and we had the build up of all the women after that, and then she actually went through and demolished a lot of high tier female wrestlers on the roster, it would probably mean more. But her character itself has flip-flopped so far in between with the face and heel shtick and everything else.
That's evident to all the people around her, because obviously there was a storyline with her and Enzo at one point, but then Enzo had to go and fuck that up.
Oh, yes. But there's everything else as well. She's obviously it's a creative thing more than anything else to flip-flop her as bad, but it's just she's been handled badly. And I think if she had come off a year later, then it would have been fine. But then she's also got this attitude of hurting people now. And it's not an attitude's probably the wrong word. It's a reputation.
Well, how she's taken it hasn't sort of.
So it's just you got to be. You don't really want to watch a match with her in because you got to worry about everybody else is in there.
Well, do you think that's obviously hindered her confidence in the ring? because I feel as though like all those incidents where she has caused injury to her, you know, her colleagues in this case, and it's like I think that would be quite damaging to a person's kind of like
It might very well do. But then
yeah.
if that
So
was the if that was the case, then maybe she should have told creative not to go ahead with it and use it as part of the storyline, which then got dropped later because it didn't work.
Right.
And all that she's left with now is
You
just
should-
the reputation of that.
Exactly, because you should never ever ever should you use injuring someone as part of your gimmick ever.
No.
That would-
Not
that-
unless
that
you're
would-
specifically writing people out and you've got a bunch of people you want to
yeah,
write
no,
out.
absolutely.
And
But
you
even
do
then,
that.
when they do that, it's very rarely used. Like saying, like I've written X and X person off television. You know, it's only worked a few times, and one of the most notable times where it has worked has been Orton as a legend killer gimmick. It doesn't work that often, and it shouldn't be used to say, "Hey."
The only other time they've done that in recent memories was when the Usos started going on the top rope, doing like the back of the leg kick.
I believe so. Yes.
Remember that?
But
I kind of agree with both of you. In that, I think with how everything has gone, I'm not sure that she knows 100%. What her character is anymore. With all of this and how she's supposed to really go about things, and she's not buying it for whatever reason. And it's just
her being teamed up with Tamina.
It's all a bit mixed up. Who knows? I think one of the people that I suspect will benefit quite a lot from Superstar Shakeup is her.
Probably because she might get the opportunity to repackage herself.
Yeah, it'll be a reset for, and just go into a new year. She'll probably switch brands. I'd imagine, depending upon what's going on with the brand split. And we'll see what happens. See what the new writers are able to do with her in terms of positioning, and she'll get a better idea from them as to who she's supposed to be.
Absolutely. So, I mean, the end of this match, because there wasn't a lot of notable spots in it, and I don't really want to hang around and talk about it too much. But the wrong people were tagged in, and Beth Phoenix got the glam slam off on Bayley from the top rope. But Billie Kay, who had tagged... she tagged her in on the move. Sorry, my bad. That's what my note said. She then threw Beth Phoenix out the ring and covered Bayley for the pinfall, giving the Iconics the tag team titles.
Which I thought was the right call, because I thought that would be the case for this, is the Iconics would get that sneaky win, and this was the perfect environment for them to do that, and they made the right call.
It's what I feared would happen, and so wish fulfillment for the end, I picked Boss and Hug, and the other two picked the Iconics. Yeah.
Now, he only followed my coattails on that factor.
I'm sorry, what?
I made that call first.
It doesn't matter. I still thought they were going to win.
I made the call first. Let me have this.
Nope. Nope. So,
LMKO's version of the Iconics isn't very iconic, ladies and gentlemen.
So, I mean, the records at this point stand, quite frankly... Oh, I care. It stands at 7.
He's never getting
the only one who cares.
It's staying here.
7 to me. 3? No. 4?
Spoiler, we don't catch him.
4 to John and 3 to Mr. Kev.
At this point, I was just like...
No. It was after the next one.
So annoyed at that point.
It wasn't after the next one. It was a little bit later, I believe. Yes, no. But yeah, it takes us to the last match that we're going to discuss on part 2 of 3 of this WrestleMania roundup, which is Daniel Bryan versus Kofi Kingston for the WWE Championship. Obviously, Bryan was accompanied by Rowan, and Kofi was accompanied by Big E and Xavier Woods. Unfortunately, this match was given away very much at the beginning of it, before it even started, being that they actually had a championship plinth at ringside. And Big E did show off a surprise gift, to which point Kev was very frightened.
Yeah, I was bearing in mind that I had Brian to win. All right, and again, it was like I don't want Brian to win in the slightest. I
No,
kind of thought
none
I
of us
have
did.
to, because if they were going to give us again, if they were going to give us Becky, out of everything, the one that they could afford to not give us and disappoint us with is Kofi. But yeah, the package came out, and when has surprise package at ringside ever been a good omen for
No.
anything ever in wrestling?
But
You
yes,
know,
the
it's either going to be a puppy or Chris Canyon coming out on the big show. It's one of those, and yeah,
I
but
mean,
it turns
yeah,
out it was a good thing in the end.
it turned out it was a good thing. So we had Daniel Bryan with Rowan, and we had the Triforce of the New Day of Kofi Kingston, Big E, and Xavier Woods. Um, there was a lot. There was one big point that obviously Rowan managed to get involved when they were both fighting on the outside, but the New Day managed to incapacitate Rowan a lot easier than sticking him under a table. He went down like a big bag of potatoes for someone who's had problems being dealt
Well,
with
it,
recently.
it was it was midnight hour. It was
Have
the
they? I
tag team
thought they
finisher.
renamed that to Up, Up, Down, Down.
No, they've got multiple finishers. They've got multiple tag team
Right.
finishers. Up, down, down is different than that. But somehow Big E got Rowan up. And boy, it took a lot of effort. And yeah, then Xavier off the table with a modified midnight hour to the outside, and that took out that. Brian then tried to do the sneaky dive and actually got clocked,
I believe so.
stopped. That was nice. Awareness.
Yes. But yeah, it managed to get back in the ring. Essentially, it left Rowan knocked out for the rest of the match. But it did leave Big E and Woods to essentially be cheerleaders at ringside. A lot of this, there was a lot of hype because obviously the crowd are very hot behind Kofi, very hot. I think it's testament to how much Kofi's done for the company, being in the right place at the right time, being part of the New Day, which has obviously only done wonders for him as he's gone on, and you can't not put this against Brian as well for his promo work, and essentially using the specific wording that was used against him when Daniel Bryan had his own WrestleMania moment at 30.
Yeah.
Everything has come together to do so much for this that the crowd were just behind every move. And unfortunately for the rest of the card, as we will talk about in the next part, it just burned them out, which is rather unfortunate. But yeah, there was a lot to this. Brian did a big running knee for a near fall, who then applied the label lock. Kingston managed to escape through various means every time it nearly got applied and everything else. There was a lot of back and forth still throughout the end of it. Kingston did get a Trouble in Paradise on Bryan to win the WWE Championship, and which I do want to point out that it hasn't really been talked about, but it means that Kofi Kingston is the 30th Triple Crown champion and the 20th Grand Slam champion, as well as the first African-born WWE champion.
That's a good milestone. I mean, granted, they weren't focusing too much on his Grand Slam victory.
No, and it was good that they didn't.
And of course, they didn't really focus on the fact that he would be the true first
African American. But I mean, it's still something of note. I mean, you can tell that a lot of the a community just behind.
I was the same.
It's very hard to use the appropriate words and the language for this.
Yeah.
But the community behind Kingston wanting that championship win based on the color, because it doesn't happen a lot because it's a very white born
legacy.
Exactly, it's a very white born company, and
it's been discussed after the fact.
Yes.
In that. They've said that part of it is part of the satisfaction is increasing that diversity.
Absolutely.
In WWE in the card.
It's very unfortunate that there are a lot of legacy people within the business that have looked at this at Kofi winning just based on the color of his skin as a sort of publicity, and that's disgusting.
It wasn't brought up
No.
at all. It was slightly again is what I said back in the pre. That it was slightly in the predictions. It was slightly inferred that it was a similar-ish story to Tripp's Booker T.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
But it
that's
wasn't
what
the
I was
case.
really afraid of happening, because that was what it was. It felt like that was the reason why Vince was putting all the hurdles in front of him,
Yeah.
and
But
that
no,
was the language in the locker room segments when the New Day were
Mhm,
talking to Kofi. What Big E was saying was about Glass Seeing. It wasn't Glass Seeing about him as a competitor. It was about who he was and what he represented, almost as much as anything else.
Yeah.
Um,
Of course, many people were interpreting that as him being the jokester, this entertainer that was just there to throw pancakes and stuff like that. Being the joyfulest, jokester, prankster and all that, along
Yeah.
with Xavier Woods and Big E to, just
they're
make the
just
crowd happy.
they're just a silly comedy act. No,
Yeah.
as we've all known, and as
Yeah.
the fans have always known,
And
when
by
they
evident
get
by their
serious, it's damn serious. And the last month and a half, 2 months,
heck, it's been longer than that.
yeah,
You know,
but that time specifically,
yeah,
they've really got is done wonders for all three of them, frankly.
yeah,
But that sort of slow burn of Kofi not speaking and the other two speaking for him, and Kofi being more hurt than anything else, and look at his face, why are you doing this to me? Before finally, really snapping and turning the wick up to the max when it was in the contract signing with Brian, and really tearing a strip off of him and giving a peace of mind about, who the hell do you think you are?
yeah.
I'll tell you who I am. Amazing stuff. Great reaction. Great match. Lots of little bits that like the stomps on the head. Again, tribute to Daniel Bryan. Bearing in mind the story of Daniel Bryan, the fact that we've got the crowd to hate him so much that we would all cheer Kofi grabbing his arms and retaliating with stamps to the face. And I didn't feel about that. Normally we've discussed this before when Bryan's had a bump to the head. We've just all naturally gone whatever.
Yeah.
Bryan's got us to hate him so much. I was just like, get him again. Every stomp, which was a receipt from when he was doing it to Kofi.
We were fully invested in the story.
We were
that was being
properly
told.
invested in that. Bryan was being a sneaky bastard. He was being vicious. He was trying to pull the arm out of the socket on the bell lock when, holding on to it. And then Kofi was doing stuff. The counters out of the bell lock were just desperation falling onto Boiling, straight punching and anything that could do. And again, there was lots of little moments there that just showed the professionalism and skill of these wrestlers. There was a bit in there, and I mentioned this in the Discord, and Pete might remember, that Kofi went for the SOS, but he was like too far away. So he started going for it. It all fell apart. But because they're utter professionals in terms of, they went straight into something else just naturally, which was okay. It didn't work. Grab, turn around, and that instead of going for the SOS, Kofi went for a Trouble in Paradise, but Bryan picked his leg out of the air and blocked it and went into took him down again. And it was it was supposed to be it was clearly supposed to be the SOS, but the fact that they actually pulled out a different sequence out of thin air, absolutely naturally, it just really added to, again, how hot the match was in terms of its realism. Really, really just had everybody invested.
Absolutely. It led to a really grandiose celebration. Kingston's family came into the ring. They celebrated with him.
Great.
The Biggie and Woods discarded the eco-friendly belt and re-represented him with the new belt, which was on the plinth all along, had the new Kofi plates on it and everything else. And in the surprise package was New Day merch.
That was a nice
which, funnily enough, was leaked on WWEshop.com
No, they
minutes
didn't,
before
did they?
It was
did.
leaked about half an hour before the match.
Luckily enough, I wasn't on Twitter to see that and whatnot, and I was more generally surprised when I
But
did see it.
they also had Brian's new merch as well, still the Planet's Champion stuff, which they made light of later on in the show.
Yeah, I did wonder then that just when they said that if that was like a sort of counter.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a shame. That
it is a
But
shame.
I don't care.
But then at the end of the day, as I said, like the match was pretty much.
Well, granted, with myself, I was more invested in the match. I didn't see that make the waves on Twitter. So
No, neither did I.
Yeah,
it's fine.
absolutely.
Because
called it at
that's
the
what
beginning.
this match needed to be. Is
Yeah,
obviously
it was
to
brilliant.
have your attention on this, and it
was
a damn good match to have your attention.
It was
on.
brilliant. The crowd were absolutely living and dying with every single move in the ring. You had the added thing with, as we said, with the New Day on the outside. They were constantly yelling and cheering for Kofi, offering him strategy and everything, and it felt real.
Yes.
Best thing we can say about this match. I think it felt
absolutely
real.
It felt genuine.
One of the people that I follow on Twitter, V Styles, most notably for his work in the video game soundtrack for Anarchy Reigns, he mentioned that obviously this match should have been a main event match, and it was a main event match. It's just it was just sad.
People need to lose the phrase of what a main event match can be. Every match that is on the WrestleMania card is there because it deserves to be there.
Yeah, and
I am so tired of the phrase of what should and should not be the main event tossed around, especially with the women being in the main event and people saying that it doesn't deserve to be there.
No,
every match on that card deserves to be there because it's good, regardless of its position on the card. Everything has a story to tell.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and it's like I was saying to him, it's like it might have not been on the main event position. It was still a main event match.
Absolutely,
and it was the match that deserved to have happened, and it did happen. And it gave us the result we wanted, and it was definitely the story for the story that was being told.
I mean, it gave you the result you wanted, as you're the only one that completely picked up the correct prediction on this one.
No, but we said it was the result we
did say.
Wanted,
yes, I know.
But predictions are one thing. Actually, the career stuff is another.
Yeah.
Both Kevin and I chose Brian because we thought there would be a continuing storyline off of this, but they did choose to give Kofi the good ending. Which is as I said on the Discord at the time, it's one prediction that I was happy to be wrong on.
You're kind of saying that is a good ending. What would happen? What would be the bad ending? Kofi just
Brian
being
winning.
Kofi being
Rowan winning
Kofi being in a chair and laughing maniacally.
I mean,
the
bad ending would be Kofi wins but doesn't win the belt via disqualification.
Yeah. If you follow at Faces in Peril, which is the LMKO Twitter account, you'll have noticed that I was tweeting along every so often. I just tweeted at the end that it was such a win. It was a win for the locker room because if Kofi had the locker room was so invested emotionally in this happening. That I was actually kind of concerned about what it would do to the locker room just spirit for the next for the rest of the show. Everybody was there, and I do mean everybody was there.
Both Raw and SmackDown talent.
It didn't seem to make any sense. And kayfabe kind of went out the window. Nikki Cross was there acting like the most giggly girl in the world in the centre of it, and it was just like, okay, well, I'm pretty sure there were heels there were faces there. It didn't matter. It went completely out the window. Everybody went nuts when Kofi won, and what an endorsement from your peers. That I mean, they were all crowded around that monitor. All of them were crowded around the monitor. They wanted to see what happened. They wanted to share it with each other.
It had some legitimacy of them wanting this to happen.
Everyone was laughing. Everyone was laughing on Twitter because it's serious because they're actually watching a TV correctly.
That's a good point.
Yeah, but
except maybe the Usos, because they were on the side.
The Usos were there. You know, they were watching. They wanted to see it happen. You know,
Absolutely.
but yeah, right decision, right result, and right on Kofi.
Absolutely.
Go for it, buddy.
And yeah, so I mean, it brings our prediction total to, I believe, you're gonna have to bear with me because now I'm just trying to keep it up to touch. I'm at 7. John is at 5. I want to say at this point.
Yeah.
And Kev
Absolute
is...
0.
No, you've got at least 2.
I've got 3, I think, still at this point.
Yeah, you got 3 because you got Shane. Yeah, that's right. We will be back for part 3. But thank you very much for watching on youtube.com/lastminutecontinue or for listening on the podcast feed. You can follow me at Titans Creed or at Gaming Phoenix, or you can find me on Twitch 5 days a week at twitch.tv/Project Phoenix Productions. Mr. John, where can they find you on the social media?
Of course, you can find me on the social medias on Twitter and on Instagram at TurboXLR, as well as finding me on Twitch, twitch.tv/TurboDrive Live, where I stream every Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday.
Kev.
As for me, actually, for the 3 of us, you can follow us on Twitter at Faces in Peril. That's the LMKO Twitter account, where you can keep up to date with everything that's going on for us and wrestling. And there'll be the occasional funny comment because it's us, basically. Me, personally, on Twitter, it's at the Kevin Eva, which is why Pete keeps saying that at the beginning of every damn show. And you can also follow our video game channel, which is also the main channel, Last Minute Continue, at Last Min Cont. Or is it
Continue.
Continue? Is it
Last Minute Continue.
I can never remember is that or the other. There's also an Instagram account which is me/Last Minute Continue one, which is at Last Minute.
Brilliant stuff. As always, ladies and gentlemen, you can catch us on YouTube or on the podcast feed. As Kevin said, you can follow us at Faces in Peril. It's the best way to catch up with any new releases or various bits and pieces we do. Thank you very much for watching and listening so far. We will see you in part 3.